In the last movie, we looked at the basics of character formatting. Now let's look at a few more other styling options that you have. I'm going to open this brochure document, and I'll zoom in on this text up here and change some of this text. I'll double-click to switch to the Type tool, and then just drag over some text that I want to edit. And I'm going to point out some of the features in the middle of the control panel. Up here, we have the ability to change the vertical scaling of this text. For example, I could change this to 150%. When I hit Enter, you see it actually stretches it up. We can do the same thing with horizontal scaling over here. Maybe I'll change that to 80% and hit Enter or Return. If you do this, just be sure not to show it to the type designer because they're just going to scream at you. It looks horrible. There's other stuff you can do too. For example, I could select this single X, come up here to the baseline shift option, and move it up or down. For example, I'll move it up 4 points. It actually moves it straight up. Let's zoom into 400% so we can see this better. Command 4 or Control 4 on Windows. You see how the X is actually moved up off the baseline of the text. Alternatively, we can actually make this go down by changing it to, let's say, -2. You see how it actually drops below the baseline now. And if you really want to get crazy, let's select this text and change its skew. The skew or shear field up here in the control panel lets you actually shear the text over to the left or to the right. For example, if I change this to 15, you'll see that it makes it look italic. It's not a true italic. This is what we call a fake italic or oblique. But it does skew it or shear it in a way that some people seem to like. If I want to shear it to the left, of course, I'd use a negative number, like -15. Now, you might not be using that kind of text formatting very much, but here's some that you probably will use. Let me pan down here and then select some text, and I'm going to put an underline underneath this text. You can do that by going up to the control panel and clicking the underline button. That looks pretty good, but you can see that the underline is kind of blah. You don't have any control over where it goes, what color it is, what style line it is, and so on. Well, you can get all that control with one modifier key. Let's select that text again and go back to that button, but this time, instead of clicking on it, I'm going to hold on the Option or Alt key when I click. That gives me the Underline Options dialog box. We can see that the underline is turned on here, but you can also see that we can change the weight, the offset, the color, and so on. Let's go ahead and change this color to something like green. I'll change the weight to something a little bit finer, like 0.4 points. And I'm going to change the offset, that is, how far away from the baseline it's going to sit, to a little bit more, let's say 2 points. If I move this dialog box out of the way and turn the preview checkbox on, we can actually see the effect. Of course, because this text is highlighted, the green underline actually is reversed, so it looks magenta. That's kind of silly. Let's go ahead and click OK and click off the text, and now you can see that the underline is sitting there exactly 2 points down from the baseline, and it's green and a little finer. Now, you may notice that some of these words are hyphenated. I'm going to be talking about hyphenation in a later chapter, but for right now, I want to point out that you can control that to some degree by selecting it and turning on the No Break feature. Let me show you. I'll double-click on this word, and I'm going to go to the Control Panel Flyout menu. That's this little menu way on the far right side of the control panel. There's all kinds of great options in here, but the one I'm looking for is called No Break. And when you choose No Break, it forces that word to stay together. It won't hyphenate across 2 lines. Now, all the other text has to reflow to make sure that text won't break, but if you want that word to stay together, it's worth it. I'm going to scroll down here, and I can show you can also apply the No Break effect to more than one word. Let's say I want to make sure Rue Academic stays on the same line. I can do that by selecting both words and choosing No Break. Now, both of those words are always going to stay together. They won't break across 2 lines, and they won't hyphenate. Whew, that's a lot of different formatting options, and we've really only scratched the surface of character-level formatting. In the next movie, we'll look at some features for turning text into uppercase or small caps characters.